Imagine sitting in a coffee shop, your phone buzzing for the 100th time today. Your shoulders tense, anxiety creeping in as you see another urgent work email. Your coffee's getting cold while your stress levels are rising. Now picture yourself in that exact same situation, but completely at peace. The notifications keep coming, but they don't touch your inner calm. The deadlines loom, but they don't control your emotions. Sounds impossible? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to teach you today. I'm about to share something that transformed not just my life, but the lives of countless others throughout history, from Roman emperors to modern-day CEOs. We're going to explore an ancient philosophy that's more relevant today than ever before. But let me be clear. This isn't your typical philosophical discussion filled with abstract concepts and dusty theories. This is about practical wisdom that you can start using the moment this video ends. You see, we're living in what I call the age of overwhelm. Our phones ping us more times per day than our ancestors had meaningful conversations in a month. Our brains are processing more information in a week than people in the 1800s did in their entire lifetime. We're expected to be available 24/7, professionally excellent, socially connected, and somehow still maintain our sanity. The numbers are staggering. Anxiety rates have surged by 25% since 2020. Depression is at an all-time high, and stress-related illnesses are becoming a global epidemic. But here's the fascinating part. Nearly 2,000 years ago, a group of remarkable thinkers developed a solution to chaos and overwhelm that works just as well today as it did then. Welcome to the world of Stoicism, not as a philosophical theory, but as a practical toolkit for modern survival and excellence. Let me tell you a personal story. 3 years ago, I was what society would call successful. Great job, nice apartment, healthy bank account. But inside, I was drowning. Panic attacks became my morning routine. Sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford. Relationships, they were crumbling under the weight of my constant stress. I tried everything: meditation apps, self-help books, therapy, even medication. Nothing seemed to provide lasting relief. Then, during one sleepless night, while scrolling through ancient philosophy quotes, yes, that's what anxiety-driven insomnia leads to, I stumbled upon words that would change everything. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of history's greatest philosophers. This led me down a rabbit hole of discovery, where I found that some of the most successful people in history, from Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the Roman Empire, to modern titans like Bill Gates and Tim Ferriss, all drew strength from these ancient teachings. But why? What makes this particular philosophy so powerful, especially in our digital age? The answer lies in what I call the Stoic operating system, a mental framework so robust that it can handle anything our chaotic modern world throws at it. Think of it as upgrading your mind's software to handle bigger challenges, process more inputs, and maintain stability under pressure. And the best part? Unlike many modern solutions that require you to withdraw from the world or fight against reality, Stoicism teaches you to thrive right in the middle of chaos. Today, I'm going to share with you the 3 fundamental principles of this operating system, what I call the Stoic Trinity: control, acceptance, and action. But we're going to do more than just talk about them. I'm going to show you exactly how to implement these principles in your daily life, with practical exercises and real-world applications that work in our modern context. What makes this approach different is that it's not about adding more to your already overwhelming life. It's about seeing through the chaos to what really matters, then acting with purpose and clarity. It's about building what I call mental armor that's both flexible and unbreakable. Let's start with something that might seem counterintuitive. Take out your phone right now. Yes, right now, and look at your notification center. How many of those notifications represent things you can actually control? This simple exercise is your first step into Stoic wisdom, and what you're about to learn might completely change how you view your daily challenges. But before we dive deeper into the first principle of control, let me ask you this. What if the very things that stress you out the most could become your greatest teachers? What if every notification, every deadline, every difficult conversation could be transformed from a source of anxiety into an opportunity for growth? So let's talk about control, but not in the way you might expect. We live in a world obsessed with controlling everything. We have smart homes that control our temperature, apps that control our schedules, and medications that control our moods. Yet somehow, we feel more out of control than ever before. Here's a profound truth that took me years to understand. Our desperate need to control everything is actually the source of our greatest suffering. Let me prove this to you with a simple example from my own life. Last month, I was preparing for the biggest presentation of my career. I had spent weeks perfecting every slide, rehearsing every word. 10 minutes before the presentation, my laptop crashed. Years of work gone. My presentation files vanished. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Instead of panicking, I remembered the first principle of Stoic wisdom. Focus only on what you can control. In that moment, I couldn't control the technology failure, but I could control my response. I could control my knowledge of the material. I could control my presence in the room. And you know what? That presentation ended up being one of my best. Not despite the technical failure, but because of it. I was fully present, speaking from genuine understanding rather than reading from slides. This brings us to what I call the control filter, a mental tool so powerful it can transform any crisis into an opportunity. Here's how it works. In any situation, especially stressful ones, your mind should immediately sort everything into 3 categories. Things you have complete control over, things you have some influence over, and things you have absolutely no control over. Let's apply this to something we all face: relationship challenges. You can't control how someone else feels about you. You can't control their actions, their responses, or their level of commitment. But you can control your own behavior, your communication, your boundaries, and most importantly, your responses to their actions. Think about social media anxiety, something that affects millions of us. You can't control how many likes your post gets, what others comment, or who decides to follow you. But you can control what you post, how much time you spend online, and most importantly, the meaning you assign to these digital interactions. This is where modern neuroscience backs up ancient Stoic wisdom. When we focus on things we can't control, our amygdala, the brain's stress center, goes into overdrive. But when we shift our attention to what we can control, our prefrontal cortex engages, leading to better decisions and reduced anxiety. But here's the key that most people miss. Stoic control isn't about becoming a control freak. It's about becoming a control realist. It's about spending your precious mental energy only on things where your influence can actually make a difference. This leads us naturally to our second principle: acceptance. But let me warn you, this isn't the passive resignation-style acceptance you might be thinking of. This is active, powerful acceptance that actually gives you more control, not less. Acceptance. It's probably the most misunderstood concept in all of philosophy. When I mention Stoic acceptance to people, they often think I'm talking about giving up or surrendering to circumstances. Nothing could be further from the truth. Stoic acceptance is your superpower in disguise. Let me share a story that illustrates this perfectly. During the pandemic, I watched 2 business owners respond to the same crisis in completely different ways. The first fought against reality, constantly complaining about the unfairness of lockdowns, refusing to adapt their business model. The second accepted the new reality quickly and channeled their energy into finding solutions. Moving their services online, creating new offerings, connecting with their community in innovative ways. One business closed within months. The other thrived and expanded. This is the paradox of Stoic acceptance. By fully accepting reality, you actually gain more power to change it. Think of it like swimming in a strong current. Fighting against it exhausts you and can even be dangerous. Swimming with it while gradually moving toward your destination, that's Stoic acceptance in action. But here's where it gets really interesting. Modern psychology has discovered something the Stoics knew centuries ago. Resistance to reality is the root cause of much of our psychological suffering. When we resist what is, we create an additional layer of stress on top of our actual challenges. Let's apply this to something we all face: aging. We can't control the fact that we're getting older. Fighting this reality leads to anxiety, depression, and often poor decisions. But accepting it, truly accepting it, frees us to focus on what we can control: our health habits, our learning, our relationships, how we spend our time. The digital age has made acceptance even more crucial. We're bombarded with images of perfect lives on social media, creating a constant state of resistance to our own reality. True acceptance doesn't mean we stop striving for better. It means we stop fighting with what is while we work toward what could be. This brings us to our third principle: action. Because without action, all this wisdom becomes mere philosophy, and philosophy without action is just entertainment. The Stoics were people of action. Marcus Aurelius didn't just write about wisdom, he led an empire. Seneca didn't just theorize about wealth, he managed it. Epictetus didn't just teach about freedom, he lived it, despite having been a slave. This is what sets Stoicism apart from many other philosophical approaches. It's inherently practical. But not all action is created equal. In our hyper-connected world, we often confuse activity with achievement, busyness with effectiveness. This is where the Stoic approach to action becomes revolutionary. Every action should pass through what I call the Stoic action filter. Is it within my control? Is it aligned with my values? Is it necessary right now? Let me show you how this works in practice. Say you're feeling stuck in your career. Most people either jump immediately into action, sending out resumes, networking frantically, or get paralyzed by overwhelm and do nothing. The Stoic approach is different. First, you accept your current reality completely. Then, you apply the control filter. What aspects of your career can you actually influence? Finally, you take deliberate, values-aligned action. This might mean developing new skills, building meaningful relationships, or even redefining what success means to you. Now let's talk about how to implement these principles in your daily life. I'm going to share what I call the Stoic success system, a practical framework that has helped thousands of my students transform their lives. The system starts with your morning routine. The first hour of your day sets the tone for everything that follows. Instead of immediately checking your phone, that gateway to everyone else's urgencies, take 15 minutes for what I call Stoic reflection. Ask yourself, what can I control today? What must I accept? What actions will move me forward? Throughout the day, use what I call Stoic pauses, brief moments where you apply our three principles to whatever situation you're facing. Stuck in traffic? Perfect time for a Stoic pause. Dealing with a difficult colleague? Another opportunity to practice. But here's where many people get stuck. They try to implement everything at once and get overwhelmed. Instead, I want you to start with what I call the one principle challenge. Choose one principle: control, acceptance, or action, and focus on it exclusively for 1 week. For example, if you choose control, spend a week simply noticing what you can and cannot control in each situation. Don't try to change anything yet, just observe. You'll be amazed at how this simple awareness starts to shift your perspective. The second week, add the practice of acceptance. Notice where you're resisting reality and experiment with letting go. Again, don't try to force anything. Just observe and practice gentle acceptance. In the third week, focus on action. But not just any action. Deliberate, purposeful action aligned with your values and focused on what you can control. By week 4, these principles start working together naturally. You'll find yourself automatically filtering situations through the Stoic lens, accepting what you can't control, taking action on what you can, and maintaining inner peace throughout. But let me be clear about something. This isn't about becoming some emotionless robot. The goal of Stoicism isn't to eliminate emotions, it's to respond to them wisely. You'll still feel fear, anxiety, and stress. The difference is that these emotions no longer control you. Think of it like this. Emotions are like weather patterns in your mind. You can't control the weather, but you can build a solid house that withstands any storm. Stoicism helps you build that house. As we wrap up, let me share one final story. Last week, I received a message from Sarah, one of my students. She had been struggling with anxiety and imposter syndrome in her high-pressure tech job. After practicing these principles for 3 months, she wrote, "For the first time in my career, I feel in control. Not because I can control everything, but because I finally understand what I can and cannot control. It's like I've been given a superpower." That's the beauty of Stoic philosophy. It's not about adding more complexity to your life. It's about seeing through the complexity to what really matters. It's about building resilience in a world that increasingly demands it. Your journey into Stoic wisdom starts now. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, now. Because as Marcus Aurelius said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Remember, the world will always be chaotic. People will always be difficult. Technology will always be overwhelming. But with these Stoic principles as your guide, you can find peace in the chaos, strength in the challenges, and purpose in every action. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of ancient wisdom for modern life. If you found value in this video, share it with someone who might need these tools. And remember, every moment is an opportunity to practice these principles, to grow stronger, to become wiser. Until next time, stay strong, stay wise, and most importantly, stay true to your values. Your journey into Stoic living has just begun, and I can't wait to hear how these principles transform your life.